Great, yeah, we see it. During any lesson, you'll see which words give the students problems with pronunciation, and then you work with them on those. After looking at the principles for teaching pronunciation, we'll look at how to practice making and describing English sounds, sometimes not as easy as it sounds. And we'll look at an instruction process for teaching sounds. Then we'll suggest activities you can do with your student to improve their pronunciation. The first thing to note is that a student's native language influences how they speak and how they hear English. Our brains from childhood train themselves to distinguish the speech sounds that are familiar to us. Some sounds may be new to them. Speaking English requires different tongue and lip placement and different mouth movements, maybe than they are used to, so learning new sounds may take some time. There are three major reasons students have problems with specific sounds. The first is that the sound is new to the student. For example, a French speaker learning English tends to have difficulty with the TH sound, like thank, because there is no TH sound in French. So they might say sank or tank instead. The second reason the student might have trouble is that the sound exists in the student's native language, but in English, it comes in a place in the word that's strange to them. For example, the Khmer language has that S sound, but not at the end of a word. So a Cambodian learning English will tend to drop a final S. So they might say, when they're saying bus, they might say ba, or when they're saying peace, it might come out as P. And third, the sound might not exist in the student's native language, but might be similar to one that does. For example, a Spanish speaker learning English is apt to have difficulty distinguishing between the vowel sounds in the words bit and beat, because the Spanish sound system has the long E sound, but not the short I sound. So Spanish speakers tend to pronounce both these words just the same. It's a good idea to do a bit of research on the native language of your student, compare their alphabet to the English alphabet, and compare the sounds of their language to the sounds of English. The second principle of pronunciation instruction is that usually adult second language learners don't just pick up good pronunciation. It can take a lot of work. The older students are and the longer they've been speaking their native languages, the more training their ears and mouths have had in hearing and speaking, of course, their language. They need direct instruction in the sounds, rhythm, and intonation of English, and then they need lots of practice. Listen carefully to how your student makes sounds and then model English sounds for them. This is hard work for your student, so practice new sounds in small chunks of time. Over the next few slides, we'll practice modeling sounds and describing how to make them.
Before we teach students to make the sounds in English, we need to be sure that we can make those sounds correctly ourselves. So we're going to do a little practice on some of the more challenging sounds. It helps to break this into 4 steps. The first step is into making a sound correctly is to get the lips and the mouth in the correct position. Next, produce the sound. Third, stop the sound. And fourth, relax the position of the mouth. If you reverse the third and fourth steps, the stopping and relaxing steps, you will get an unwanted vowel sound added to your consonants. So it's important to do these in the correct order. For example, when making the sound for V, if you relax your mouth position and open your mouth while still making the sound, you will suddenly be saying V instead of V. And we don't say Valentine. Now let's practice saying the sounds of the letters on this slide. Be careful not to add a vowel sound to the end of B, D, such as B and da, or add a vowel sound to the beginning of L and R. No all or R. These are common mistakes. Go ahead and say these sounds with me for these letters after me. B, 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 d, d, l, I did it wrong. R, r. If you were to teach a student that the sound an L makes is all, they might incorrectly sound out the word in the box on the slide and say alliteracy, which completely changes the meaning of the word. To model the sounds b and d, think of a short word that begins with a letter and has a short I sound immediately following, like big and dig. Start to say the word and then clip it after the initial consonant sound. A short I sound is easier to clip than other vowels. To model the L and R sounds, think of a short word that begins with a letter like lead or red. Start to say that word and continue the initial sound instead of saying the rest of the word. For the L, keep the tip of your tongue touching the roof of your mouth throughout the sound. And try the sound out using a simple word and record or simply listen to yourself. Remember that we don't say river, a leg, or duh-ish. You have a handout for your reference that gives definitions and descriptions for all of these terms relating to pronunciation. Most of these terms you may never need to use to describe to your student how to make different sounds, but some of them you will. Simple terms such as vowel, consonant, and blends. Your handout gives you much more detailed information. The text in the box shows how you may see letters and sounds represented in your textbooks. Letters that are between the slashes represent the sound of that letter. Letters without the slashes represent the letter itself. There are several types of sounds. Voiced sounds are made using the vocal cords, while unvoiced sounds are made with your breath. Nasal sounds come through the nose. Continuants are sounds that you make as long as you have breath, but stop sounds cannot be held and are gone as soon as you make them. Recognizing these differences can help you teach the student how to make sounds and also help you to choose practice words to improve their pronunciation. There are 18 sounds in the English language that can be grouped into 9 voiced and unvoiced pairs, as shown on this slide. The concept behind these pairs is pretty simple. For one, you use your vocal cords, and for the other, you don't. But your mouth position is the same for both sounds in that pair. You can help your student with the mouth position by using a mirror or recording a video so that they can compare your mouth position, their mouth position to yours. So let's take a look at one pair, the sounds for F and V. Both these sounds are continuants, which you can continue to make as long as you have breath. For this pair, begin to make the V sound, v, and then as you continue to make it, stop using your vocal cords, but don't change your mouth position. You'll find that you are now making the sound for F. For example, the unvoiced equivalent of v is f. Try it with me. You can practice with your student and help them see the difference visually by holding a slip of paper in front of your mouth and making the sound for B and then P. Your student, I have a little piece of paper here. Your student will see that the paper stays still with a sound for B, ba, the voiced sound, but the paper moves for the sound of P, the unvoiced or breath sound. B, b, p, p. Can you see? B, b, p, p. Let's try all the pairs together on the slide, which I just removed for you. You can't see it. Hang on just a second. Okay, let's try all these pairs together. Speak along with me. I'm using the slip of paper. You can use your hand or a tissue, or just imagine, feel the breath coming out of your mouth. P, b, t, d, k, g, ch, j, f, f, v. V, I said va. Oh no, shame on me. V, v, v. See how hard it is? Using a slip of paper works well for most of the pairs, except for S and Z, where the air comes out of the corners of your mouth. To tell the difference for this pair, hold your fingers on your voice box and say the sounds S and Z. Feel the vibration for the Z, for the voice sound. Or put your fingers in your ears and say the sounds S and Z. With the Z sound, you will hear buzzing like a bee in your head. For a correctly made nasal sound, you can often feel vibration by putting a hand on top of your head or your fingers to your temple. If you wonder if the nasal sounds truly do come from your nose, try making the sounds while holding your nose. I wish I could see all of you. WhatsApp is a great tool to use with your student in practicing making sounds. Charmy's going to send you a couple of examples of how you can use WhatsApp to help students with the difference in pronunciation of B and V.
If you have your phone nearby, just grab it and see if you got my first word there. I sent you one word. So let's say I have a student who has difficulty distinguishing between a B and a V. So I chose as a sample two words, berry and very. So the first thing I did was send the written word, berry. Now on WhatsApp, you see at the bottom of the screen, there's a little microphone. You can record your voice there. So I'm going to hold down the microphone and say the word berry. And then I'm going to send it to you. So if you touch that little triangle there, it should say berry.
Berry.
Oh, Bonnie recorded something.
Berry.
Oh, thank you, Bonnie. Okay.
Berry.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Oh, all right, good. All right, and then after we did berry, then I would go back and send you. Oh, everybody's recording. Oh, this is wonderful. Okay, everybody record berry, right? All right, the next thing I would do would be send my comparison word, which is very, right? Did everybody get the very?
Yes.
Okay, if you haven't recorded your voice yet, record your voice and say very. Wow, look at this. Everyone's jumped in. Oh, beautiful.
Berry.
So you can see how useful this is with your student at home can listen, because they'll say, ooh, I still can't remember. How did it sound? How did it sound? Maybe, okay, Sarah's saying it seems to send automatically. Mine, I had to slide it up. The iPhones work differently from Androids with it sometimes, so I'm not real sure. All right, now as the big bonus there, Okay, now we've got the visual for the word and we've got the audio, and Beth kindly recorded a video of herself so you can see the position of the teeth and the lips. When I saw myself recorded, I refused to send that to anybody but her, with my vanity, but hers came out really good. Let me send it to you here. All right. And this is really helpful for the student at home who they can listen again and again and again. See how this is a really good little video here. Just 3 seconds long.
Very, very.
Okay. Betsy, did you not get the video? Wait a minute. Where's Betsy? Okay.
I'm getting them now. We're good.
Okay. Okay, good. All right, so that's just a little touch of something you can do with WhatsApp with your student. Great. Okay.
I have no pride. It's okay.
Beautiful. No, I was telling Beth she has beautiful teeth. Nobody wanted to see my teeth. All right. Okay.
Okay. Your tutor information book, and you can see on the slide the reference to the TIB. The tutor information book has over 12, 15 pages on pronunciation and many different sounds and sound combinations with descriptions on how to make them, along with information on how to produce them. So this slide of instructions to help your student practice making sounds correctly is just for your reference. It summarizes ways to distinguish voiced versus unvoiced and nasal sounds, as we did in the previous example.
All right, here are 4 tips that can help to build a student's confidence. Many ESL students are frustrated with their pronunciation. They may avoid talking with native English speakers because they're not confident in their ability to be understood. Respond to their frustration with plenty of encouragement and praise when they pronounce something correctly. A student's frustration builds when they speak and the other person doesn't understand. The student has just said something probably the only way they know how, so asking them to repeat again and again can become embarrassing. When this happens, you could ask a follow-up question instead. You can try to get at the meaning of what they're saying without directly saying, "I don't understand." Then you can help the student practice saying it. Sometimes if you ask them to write it down for you, that'll clear it right up. Sounds aren't truly learned until they become automatic. So practice new sounds often with your student. Practice builds confidence. Remember to practice listening as well as speaking. Students need to be able to hear the difference between the sounds before they can produce them. If the student can't hear the sound, he won't be able to say it. Remember also, the goal of speaking is communication. If the student can be understood, this can be considered successful. Perfection isn't necessary. Make sure your student realizes this. In teaching sounds, we use a variation of the explicit instruction model. The explain and model steps are combined. So we have two types of guided practice: listening and speaking. This is an example of how to describe making the letter L. Here's my L. All right. All right. L is the sound. Here, I'm holding it up here now. Hold on. L is the sound. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. Ul is the sound the letter L makes. Right? So obviously, if I'm with the student, we've got the cards in front of us. But for now, I've got a card, and maybe I would ask the student to make a card at their station. You hold up to the screen a card with a capital and a small letter. Or if you're sharing a document, of course, you can do it on the shared document. All right, listen again. Ul. When I make the sound, I first touch my tongue to the roof of my mouth, just behind my upper teeth, and I keep it there, and the air comes out around my tongue. I use my vocal cords to make the sound. It can help for the tutor to exaggerate or stretch out the word as the student learns to pronounce the sound. For example, in Japanese, there is a sound kind of between an R and an L. So the sounds for R and L can be very challenging for Japanese speakers. I had a Japanese student one time. She had difficulty being understood by others when she said bleed and breathe, which was a really big problem because she's a nurse. She needed the listener to understand whether she said a patient had stopped bleeding or breathing. So we practiced a lot with bleed and breathe, just to get her to feel where her tongue goes when you make those L's and those R's. The minimal pairs teaching technique is often used with ESL students to help them hear the difference between sounds so they can then pronounce the sounds. A minimal pair is two words that are different only in one sound. Minimal pairs have to do with the way the words sound, not necessarily how they're spelled. In the first two examples, the changed sound is represented by one changed letter. Otherwise, the two words have the same spelling. The pill and the bill, those two sets there. In the next two examples, only the initial sound has changed, but the two words are spelled completely differently. The sound that changes does not have to be the first sound. In addition, it could either be a consonant or a vowel. In the last two examples, only the vowel sound has changed. One really good way to work with minimal pairs is to ask the student to listen to two sounds or to two words and tell you if they are the same or different. So pill, bill, same. Pill, pale, different. But pill, pill, same. First, you have to teach the meaning of same and different. To do this, show the student two identical objects, such as two yellow pencils, and say same and point to the word same on your card, or if you've got it written here, same. If you've got same and different. Then show two very different objects, such as a pencil and a book, and say different and point to the word different written on a card. You may need to do this several times with different objects before they catch on fully. Of course, this is for a very low student who doesn't know the word same or different, right? If the student is a real beginner, it may be easier for them to respond by holding up, if they have the two words, ask them to write the two words and then have them hold up the word and when you say it. We always have to make accommodations for doing this on virtually instead of as we used to, like point to the word. The steps for practicing minimal pairs in the handout is similar to the process for introducing sounds using the steps of explicit instruction modeling, listening, and practice. The main difference is that minimal pairs targets two sounds the student may have difficulty distinguishing between. For more examples, Google ESL minimal pairs.
Practicing with tense and lax pairs or words with long and short vowels is useful when there's no distinction between two sounds in the student's native language, such as the long E as in beat and the short I as in bit. This is a particular problem for Spanish speakers, as we've mentioned before, because the short I sound isn't part of their native language. Have the student watch as you say the long E, exaggerating the mouth position, and then the short I, showing the more relaxed position. There is a more tension in the mouth position when saying the long E sound. Have the student copy you, perhaps watching in a mirror or on their webcam as you make the sounds together. This helps the student to feel the difference and to compare their mouth position with yours. Watch me as I make these sounds and then try it yourself. E, E, I, beat, beat, bit, bit. We use non-standard English all the time in everyday speech, and it differs from what we usually read in print. As native English speakers and experienced readers, we make the connection automatically between gonna and going to. But our students can have problems when what they hear doesn't match what they read. You'll need to help the student understand the meaning of these expressions. Remember to always consider the student's needs and goals when deciding how much to work on pronunciation. Consider these two different people. The biochemist from India may be very motivated to perfect their pronunciation as much as possible. He may be willing to devote a lot of time and effort to it because it is vital for him to be well understood by his colleagues. For him, success in pronunciation might be defined as speaking much like a native English speaker. On the other hand, we had a student who always pronounced eggs as yegs, even after much effort to correct her. When she saw EGGS, she knew that was yegs. She was a respected matriarch of her community, however, and everyone understood her. So she had no real reason to change. Improving pronunciation is an important goal, but be careful not to work on it so much that you frustrate your student. Remember, the goal is better communication, however that is defined for them.
All right, now we've got 3 websites that are great for pronunciation. We're only going to visit one of them tonight, but the other 2 are very useful. We're going to look at Learning Chocolate, which has a great name. Let's see, if you unshare, please, I can share. Thank you. All right, was unshare even a word before Zoom? Okay, I'm going to the chocolate page. Here, and
Zoom is now a verb.
exactly.
I guess it always was, yeah.
Okay, am I sharing? Everybody sees Learning Chocolate?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, this is great for all different kinds of topics and for listening, vocabulary listening. So there's a lot on the website, and up here is the categories of topics. And just randomly, I said, well, let's look at the jobs, and we'll go to jobs. And these are all little units, tiny little units. There's maybe 5 or 10 words in each one. And I'm going to go to appointment words. And as you're watching this, keep in mind the beauty of this is the student can do this at home and listen and listen and listen without you there once they learn how to do this. This is the vocabulary, and all right, they'll need to know how to say. Can you hear that? Everybody hears that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, so they'll listen to this. So there's 3 things for each. There's the word insurance card, there's the sound, and then there's the meaning, the picture. And then on each little module, there's always one with the sound, and they match it up. And one thing I love about this is when they're done with that, they don't need you. They can check their answers, and they can see right away what they got right, what they got wrong, practice again. Now it's a different way. Without the sound, now they've got the word and the picture. We'll see what happens if I get it wrong now. Right? All right, so I got that one wrong, that one right. And then the third way is without reading now. Right? And address. We'll put that there. You can check your answer. And then each one of them has you write in the answer. And then again, really good for listening here. Right? So I love this website. So that's That's learning chocolate. Let's go back to stop share. Oh, we did it. All right. Can we get the other one back up there, please?
Do we need to see them?
Beth?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, and the second one is a dictionary, a learner's dictionary, which is especially oriented towards non-native speakers of English. This is a good one because when the student looks up the meaning of a word, the pronunciation is included and a sample sentence. Now, a lot of tutors, a lot of students have used Google Translate constantly, which they can still hear the sound and they get a translation. They don't get a sample sentence though. And the third website, Color Vowel Chart, is great for listening to and learning the vowel sounds. When you have time, poke around that website and look at it and read how it can be useful. It's very interesting. So these are just a few sites good for pronunciation.